So basically, like my thesis going into this from the clips that I've seen is that Charlie Kirk was the last line of defense holding together any kind of non-neo-Nazi youth outreach Republican program. Like Charlie Kirk's anti-Groyper, stance, his adamant refusal to accept open white nationalism in TPUSA. Now that he's gone, that's pretty much over with, and the TPUSA is almost certainly going to be taken over by the Groyper types. Oh, apparently a lot of the people around Charlie Kirk were also like Fuentes coded. Charlie Kirk himself was also a neo-Nazi. He just didn't really like ramp it up for political expediency.
Even if it were true that other public figures were our best friends, our very best friends, that does not relieve us of our duty to speak out of principle and not to cover up evil or shy away from addressing it out of friendship. So no, Tucker Carlson, it is not an excuse to go silent on Candace's targeting of TPUSA.
Oh, drama.
Or to mirror her bullshit lines of questioning because you love Candace personally. The same holds true of Megyn Kelly, a person I consider a friend, characterizing Candace as a young mother and thus shying away from condemning her actions or fibbing about them. That is a non-starter. Meghan Markle is a young mother. Ilhan Omar is a young mother. That doesn't matter. And when Megyn said this week, quote, "My goal and my job here is to try to understand, yes, where Candace is coming from on this," and says she sees no purpose in inserting herself, quote, into this on one side, that is a moral and logical absurdity. There is only one moral side here, Erica Kirk's side.
I feel like it's a bit of a strategic misstep to dedicate this much time and energy to the... I don't know, man. It's kind of crazy how consistent Ben Shapiro is. He has not changed a lick in the past decade. He is exactly the same. The worst people you know are fighting? Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is worth keeping in mind, and I know this is like a really low bar, but Ben Shapiro, as bad as he is nowhere near the moral black hole that he's opposing here. Like, Ben Shapiro is an upstanding and moral gentleman when compared to people like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, stuff like that. It's just, you made your bed, right? You made your bed. I'm so like everything has led to this moment. I have been, not just me, but I have been calling this for years and years and years. The more you push in this direction, the more this is the inevitable outcome. It's the path of least resistance. If you open the door to this, and you did, this is where you end up. It is a very deterministic outcome. What I find bizarre is that both Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson spoke at the event even though they hate each other. I'm surprised TPUSA didn't arrange for them to debate. Ooh, okay. Listen, I don't know who's making the decisions over at TPUSA these days. I have no idea, but I am not at all surprised they don't want him to debate. I think that people are aware of the fact that one of these stars is rising and one of them is falling, and that the rising star would win, and that might actually be bad for the movement in the long run, if that makes any sense.
Third, and relatedly, we have a duty to take responsibility for what we say and do. If we hire awful people, we're responsible for that. I have some experience there, as you might suspect. That means that if we offer a guest for your viewing, we owe it to you to ask the kinds of questions that actually get at the truth. If we agree with the guest, that's fine, but we should own it. So, for example, if you host a Hitler apologist, Nazi-loving, anti-American piece of refuse like Nick Fuentes...
Oh, no. Oh, no. The jeering from the crowd.
You know, the Nick Fuentes who said that the Vice President of the United States is a, quote, fat gay race traitor married to a Jeet. The person who said that Charlie Kirk was a, quote, retarded idiot.
Oh, shit. Oh, he's going off. He's ulting.
And pardon my language here, it's his quote, that he, quote, took Turning Point USA and fucked it, and that's why it's filled with groypers. If you have that person on your show and you proceed to glaze him, you ought to own it.
I do think it's funny that he said Jeet, but then he had to apologize before saying fuck, you know?
There is a reason that Charlie Kirk despised Nick Fuentes, and indeed even chided Dinesh D'Souza for debating him. He knew that Nick Fuentes is an evil troll, and that building him up is an act of moral imbecility. And that is precisely what Tucker Carlson did. He built Nick Fuentes up. And he ought to take responsibility for that, just as he ought to take responsibility for glazing pornographer and alleged sex trafficker Andrew Tate, or for mainstreaming—
Blow these guys, you cannot beat Fuentes by taking him seriously. That's true, but also, like, again, no one will take Ben seriously on this because he represents a half measure. For one, he's compromised because he's a Zionist. Like, obviously, a huge part of his policy platform is just limitless deference to Israel, which no one's having. Certainly not anyone who likes Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens, right? So just compromise there. Like you not that shit's authenticity test failed. But also, you're a half measure. In reality, people like Ben Shapiro can't actually exist for long. They're not a stable form of matter. Their ideology it's radioactive. You know, you're going to collapse into a more stable form eventually. Not to suggest that neo-Nazism is stable politically, but it is. I don't want to say it's internally consistent. I want to say that it's stable. It's stable in the sense that all of the hatred and inconsistency and sloppulist bullshit, all of the conspiracy, all the whatever, it all rounds out into a blob of nonsense that can hold itself together. Not when implemented in policy, but in a person's head. But how many people used to be like Ben Shapiro, but are now like Nick Fuentes, you know, who a couple of years ago were like, I'm not a white nationalist. I just think that immigrants to the United States need to respect our laws and culture. Well, if you start caring about things like cultural protectionism and start fear-mongering about stuff like immigration, eventually you're going to end up falling down the slide. It's the pipeline.
Fake historian and pseudo-Nazi apologist Daryl Cooper as America's best and most honest popular historian. Hosts are indeed responsible for the guests they choose and the questions they ask those guests.
Who? Nazi.
Fourth, because we have a duty to truth, we also have a duty to provide you with evidence of the claims that we make. Emotive accusations, conspiracy theories, and just guessing questions, that's lazy and stupid and misleading. None of them are a substitute for truth. None of them are a substitute for evidence. So, when Candace Owens says—
And speaking of half measures, you can't still be this browbeating debate guy when you've spent your entire career debating in bad faith. Like, it would be one thing if you were locked in on criticizing the right for its ideological inconsistency or for how irrational Nazis are, but Ben Shapiro has been totally comfortable being irrational every single time he's ever argued for any of the things that he believes in. Every racist position, every transphobic position he's ever had, every time he argues them, he does so in gleeful bad faith. So, like, yeah, again, you paved the way. You were never actually teaching critical thinking skills. You were always teaching dogma. It's just this dogma is more powerful than yours.
I don't know, but I know. That is retarded. And we are all more retarded for having heard it. You see, we live in a chaotic time, in a time when lots of people are asking lots of legitimate questions about—
We're going to watch a bit more of Ben Shapiro's, then I want to watch a bit from Tucker Carlson.
The conservative movement. What ought we to think about the relationship between free markets and traditional virtue? How should we craft a pragmatic foreign policy that spreads our interests and upholds our ideals? What governmental means are appropriate to achieve political ends? All of these questions aren't new, of course. They've been asked for as long as human beings have been talking about politics, thousands of years. And over the course of this conference, you'll hear a lot of opinions on a lot of these questions. I have my own perspectives on them, of course. You can hear them every single day on my show. My fundamental values have been the same for 25 years. Peace through strength on foreign policy. Traditional values on social policy. Free markets with regard to economics. But today, I want to talk about something even more important. How to discern those attempting to speak truth from frauds and grifters.
not well
because
positioned.
Something is new. An informational environment rife with both opportunity and chaos. Opportunity because the legacy media gatekeepers are no longer in charge of what we see and what we hear. And chaos because an anarchic informational environment means we actually have to be smart in how we assess the information and arguments that we hear. Why does that matter? Well, because today the conservative movement is in serious danger. It is in danger, not just from a left that all too frequently excuses everything.
I know this is all fake and truth doesn't matter, but how does he actually not feel silly making these points as a Republican? Honestly, I have no idea. I feel like the inconsistency and the delusion necessary to say stuff like this as a Republican is more divorced from truth than the open grifting of people like Candace or Tucker, where they are moral and intellectual black holes and they know for a fact that nothing, because Ben actually does believe a lot of the stuff that he says, right? It's why he's frustrated here. He's frustrated because he sees his party being taken over by like irrational conspiracy theorists and bigots. But he is himself an irrational conspiracy theorist and bigot. So it's like, what the fuck, man? You just got on the wrong side. Well, you're all on the wrong side. I guess you got on the losing side.
Up to and including murder. The conservative movement is also in danger from charlatans who claim to speak in the name of principle, but actually traffic in conspiracism and dishonesty, who offer nothing but bile and despair, who seek to undermine fundamental principles.
In what world is Tucker a bigot? First post from Incel Groiper. Come on, you gotta lead me up a little better than that.
Of conservatism
Put
by
in some
championing
damn
enervation and grievance.
But take me out
These
to
people
dinner
are
before you
frauds,
fuck me.
They are grifters, and they do not deserve your time. And they are something worse than that. A danger to the only movement capable of stopping the left from wrecking the country wholesale.
Do you think Shapiro understands there are literal Nazis on the side of the field? Yes, absolutely, he understands that. Again, I don't know if you guys recall, Shapiro was anti-Trump back in the Republican primaries in 2016. He posted a comic and made arguments saying that, like, hey, Trump sure is the guy attracting all the neo-Nazis. They're being really anti-Semitic to me. That's kind of a red flag. And then what happened? Trump won the primary and he shut the fuck up and pretended he didn't say that. He's always been willing to shut up and go along with it. And this is where it leads you. You're a fucking coward. What's the term for that? The Jews in Germany who went along with it until it was their turn. What's the term for that? There's like a specific term. Coward? Well, yeah, I mean, that's not very specific, but yeah. Capo? Yeah, that sounds right.
So today, I want to discuss 5 obligations that people who speak to you on matters of importance have to you. I want to speak to you about our duties.
Duty.
Our first duty is truth.
We listen to this. Let me hear him close out the speech.
A kid out of high school, no college degree, and build the most powerful conservative organization in America, then you can do it too, because that's what America's all about. You're an American, go do it. Thank you so much. Wasn't great at debate, and then I knew Charlie when he was great at debate. He actually cultivated a skill set, and it was really impressive and cool to watch him do that. That's something.
And to glaze Charlie when Charlie was himself super far right and a white nationalist, you know? Just a total fucking mess. Okay, let's take a look at Tucker Carlson, whose speech was 10 minutes longer. I might note.
I never miss a Charlie Kirk event because I love Charlie Kirk.
I never miss Charlie Kirk.
The more you tell the truth, the stronger. I watched it. I laughed.
He's talking about the video of Charlie getting Charlied.
Laughed, that kind of bitter, sardonic laugh that emerges from you when, like, Upside Down World arrives. When your dog starts doing your taxes and you're like, wait, it's not supposed to work this way.
What the fuck are you talking
Continuing the core principle of Charlie's public life, which is the right of every person to express what he believes, that is rooted in Christian faith. We believe people should be able to say what they think because they have souls. They're human beings created by God. They are not slaves. They are not animals. They are not objects. You cannot tell another human being to shut up, even shut up racist, because you don't own him. He is an independent, autonomous person created by God as an individual. Okay, so that's where that belief comes from. That's where free speech comes from. And there's no accident. This is the only country in the world that protects it because our founding...
theology has gone downhill so much over the past... It used to be that there were a lot... Like, basically every credible philosopher and academic was Christian, well, in the Christian world at least, you know? And they'd be like, you know, yeah, God gave us faculties of reason so that we might unwork the puzzle box of the universe that he crafted. And then they would, like, write some sick shit or whatever. Nowadays, people are like, you can't be mean to me because God gave me a mouth that I can talk with it, and it should be illegal to be mean to me. And also, we're not slaves. And slavery is bad, except when it did happen, that was neutral and everyone did it, you know? The quality of the discourse has dropped considerably.
Documents were informed, as you just heard so nicely expressed by Michael Knowles, my friend, by people who self-consciously incorporated Christian precepts into their...
Boring.
I love Knowles' list of all the views. I probably had most of them in my long and varied life. I have fewer now. I just kind of want to see a good faith effort to improve the country. That's it. And I'm ever aware that I'm not exactly sure the right way a lot of times. Are tariffs the best way to help the country? I don't know. I hope so. Not an expert. Or ignoring it. Oh, that always happens in war. Well, you're right. One of the reasons I'm not that into wars. But when it does happen...
Right, it's very insufferable. Much more insufferable to listen to than Ben Shapiro. From Incel Groiper, we have our second message. Can you do a stream on who actually owned the slave ships? I don't get this, man. What's the point of being evil if you then accredit all the evil shit to the other people you don't like? You're like, I love hatred, war, death, kill all non-whites. But also, it was the Jews who did slavery. Why would you, like, wouldn't you want to take credit for that? It's like the Holocaust denial. I don't get it. You guys are whipped back and forth between wasn't it great when we did that, and also we didn't do that. You think slavery is based. Like, what it seems like you guys have a very confused understanding over what you feel you should take credit for, and I don't really get it, you know? You take credit for the works of Greek and Roman philosophers, even though we all know that Greeks and Romans were Mexican, right? But then you're like, well, we would never enslave people, even though everyone knows that it was the fucking transatlantic slave. Well, the transatlantic slave trade was mostly Mexican because a lot of it was done by like Italians and Spaniards and stuff. As we know, these are Mexican countries, but you're splitting hairs at this point.
Unavoidably, and we like talk about it. That's kind of it, but I love it. Yeah, and we do.
Does Tucker drama post that much in this one? Does Tucker drama post that much in his TPUSA speech? Has anyone seen it? It seems like Ben Shapiro was very, very willing to engage, you know, to engage in it. But I don't. Hold on, I want to look at clips. I'm clip looking, okay? Because I'm immediately bored by Tucker.
You cited during. Thank you for being here, Ben. You cited during your speech truth as the most important tenet of American conservatism. Why, therefore, did you call irrelevant the Israeli attack in 1967 on the USS Liberty, which left dozens of American servicemen dead and hundreds wounded?
This is the future of TPUSA, man. The crowd cheering as we bring up USS Liberty. First thing.
So what I actually said is that if we're looking at modern Israeli-American relations, looking at an attack that happened mistakenly by multiple Navy reports, multiple Israeli reports, and all available evidence, and using that attack in order to undermine today's relations between Israel and America, that's irrelevant. As irrelevant as it would be to cite a piece of evidence from World War II or from 1776 to define America's relations with, for example, Great Britain or Germany today. That does not mean that the attack wasn't horrible for the Americans involved, that it wasn't bloody and terrible. The Israeli government paid reparations to the people who were killed. If you look at the actual military record of what happened on the USS Liberty, it was clearly a mistaken and tragic attack. The people who frequently cite the USS Liberty, however, are not talking about the specifics.
Wait, is this real? The USS Liberty? Yeah, of course it's real. It doesn't really matter. Like, it is literally 60 years ago. Did you know that you attacked it? I don't know. If you held every country to this standard, do you have any idea what America was doing in like Western Europe in the 1960s? It's not really relevant. It's like the dancing Israelis thing. It's just it's like a mental short circuit they default to. Surely if you want to be anti-Semitic, you can bring up like more recent relevant stuff. Yeah, Israel's killed American citizens much more recently than that. You'll not hear debate like this in dem events. That's true. That's true.
Of the USS Liberty. I suspect that the vast majority of people who bring this up are doing so in order to suggest...
What was America doing in Western Europe? As part of our investment in Western Europe through the Marshall Plan in the post-World War II years, we were essentially like terraining guerrilla combat units to prevent an invasion from the Soviet Union westward. The idea being like, okay, if the Soviet Union marches westward, now there's going to be a bunch of like heavily armed, well-funded, well-trained, CIA-backed militia groups that are going to resist them. And then, believe it or not, who are the people most likely to join Italian, anti-communist, heavily armed militia groups? Fascists. Mussolini-ites, basically, former World War II soldiers. So the CIA gave them a bunch of weapons and training, and then what happened? They just did a bunch of crimes. They just did, like, bank robberies and fought with the government and stuff. We did shit like that all over the world, even to our allied countries, you know? Pretty smart stuff, you know?
That Israel deliberately attacked an American ship because Israel deliberately wants to harm America. It is connected generally with a larger point. I wonder if that's your point.
If the truth matters, then the Israeli government must be held accountable for that attack.
This shit is so weak. Again, if you're a Nazi, just say Nazi shit. Stop with this, like, I really care about a random attack 60 years ago. Just what, like, actually bring up the stuff. What do you're gonna hold Israel accountable for this and nothing else? Oh, okay, you've been held accountable for the USS Liberty. Now we're done. We have no more grievances. Like, just talk about the thing you care about. Just say the JQ stuff. It's so fucking lame.
Flag was flying on that ship. You do not mistake an American ship for a foreign one when our flag is flying.
So, and we can spend the rest of the time talking about the specifics of the U.S. Liberty attack, or you can actually go look at the naval investigations that were done, multiple naval investigations that were done. The reality is that people were flying Mirage planes for the Israeli military at the time. The USS Liberty was sailing in an area where it had essentially gone off-grid. The Israeli military mistook it for an Egyptian ship. They thought it was shelling Al Arish, which happened not to be true. In the initial attack, the American flag was knocked down, and then the attack went on for about 90 minutes. And then, as soon, you can hear this, by the way, on the tapes of the Israeli pilots talking to each other, as soon as they realize that it's an American ship, they call off the attack, they speed a ship to try and help the USS Liberty. There have been multiple unfortunate friendly fire incidents between Allied forces.
What does JQ mean? Am I stupid? The person asking this question believes that Jews control the world, or at the very least the Western world, and are using their position of power to do a whole bunch of bad stuff. But rather than talk about that, because he knows that he can't lay out the tenets of the JQ like one by one, it would make him look crazy. He's bringing up an irrelevant naval incident from 5,000 years ago, which was when God promised the USS Liberty to Israel, which no one fucking cares about. It's like a proxy issue.
Including, for example, in the Gulf War, where U.S. forces were responsible for killing about 9 British troops during the Gulf War. It's an unfortunate reality of war, but you're not answering my question, which is, what is your broader agenda in asking the question? Because I suspect that your question is not limited to your specific...
Ben's correct here, but I actually think he's responding pretty well. I mean, low bar, but...
...specific ire over an incident that happened in 1967.
I think we should question any foreign country's relationship with our government.
That's totally fine, but I'm just wondering why you...
See, you can't... Again, the cowardice, the moment you're not talking in broad euphemisms, everything turns into dickless whining. Okay, but like, I'm still really concerned about this naval incident from 3 times longer than my age ago, Just say the JQ. Just Heil Hitler, man. Come on. You'll be a legend. Nick Fuentes will call you a gay Fed on his stream. This is your chance.
American interests.
Again, I'm perfectly fine with questioning any country's relationship with the United States. But again, I'm wondering what your motivation is in bringing up a 6-decade-old attack as though it is the #1 issue in assessing the relationship between Israel and the United States today.
Well, many problems persist to this day, but it's interesting that you say 6-decade-old incident when there are many people in this audience who were alive for that attack, as if
Yeah, some people are older than 6 decades. That's pretty true. How dare you dismiss the lived experiences of these people who may have probably been alive, for some of them alive, when the USS Liberty was attacked?
This is something that's irrelevant.
Well, no, it's just not particularly relevant to assessing the relationship between the United States and Israel today, in the same way that in 1967, there are a wide variety of countries with which the United States had different relations. Okay, it's clear you're not going to actually answer the question, so I'm happy to move to this one.
That was really funny. Also, like, fucking gave him 3.5 minutes to engage with that guy over nothing, over like a total brainlet irrelevant. By the way, all the clips that I'm finding from the TPUSA event are on this guy's Twitter. He's a Nazi, Evan Kilgore. So that's where the attention is being held. A few from Tucker Carlson just to round it out. You guys see what I mean about the firewall being gone, right? Like, now that Charlie Kirk is gone and the movement, the TPUSA movement isn't being like concretely held by one person, it's just an open field. And I really, really think the Nazis are going to win this one.
So let me just affirm one final time, not only am I not an anti-Semite, and would say so if I was, I'm not an anti-Semite for a very specific reason. Not because it's unpopular, or my donors don't like it. I don't have any donors. I'm not an anti-Semite because anti-Semitism is immoral. In my religion, it is immoral to hate people for how they were born. Period. But that is not a limited principle. That is a universal principle. It applies to every human being on planet Earth. You may not, you are prohibited by my religion, which is Christianity, from hating people for how they were born. Because God created them with his spark in his image. Because they have souls. You can disagree with them. You can hate their ideas. You may even find yourself, and I do,
Crowd's staying real quiet, by the way, because the pro-Israel people in the crowd know that Tucker Carlson's an anti-Semite, but the Nazis in the crowd don't like this, you know, half-handed rhetoric.
I'll confess it, hating them for a moment, but you can't hate everyone who's like them. You can't punish people for crimes they didn't commit. That's the basis of our justice system. That's the basis of Christian ethics. That's why we have what are called human rights. They apply to every human, not just your group, not just my group, but every group, every human, because we don't consider people in terms of the groups to which they belong. We consider them as individuals the way that God created them. So anti-Semitism is not just naughty, it's immoral.
Fake and gay.
We are called to be righteous, but not self-righteous. And we're also called, and I have to say this before opening it up to your hostile questions, we should also be very on guard against people who try to leverage the Word of God, the words of Jesus, for political ends. That is a dangerous thing to do. I don't want to do that. And I attempt every time. This is all sort of new to me. I'm so obviously not a great Christian that it's not like a lot of people are going to be like, oh, I want to be like him. But there are people, particularly Christian ministers, I have noticed, who are preaching a political message and pretending that it's the gospel.
Why is he so uninteresting? Right? Ben is so much more interesting to listen to than Tucker. It's one of the reasons I rarely cover Tucker. He's really, really boring. He has this, like, hysteric disconnect between what he's saying and the tone of his voice, and he rambles. There's never a pause. It's, like, actually really uninteresting to listen to. And I'm not just saying that because he's, like, far-right or whatever. There are plenty of people on the far-right who I think are interesting to listen to.
So let me just say, and I think my theology is right, I'm hardly a theologian, God is not on any country's side. Certain countries can decide to be on God's side, and that is true for people too. Okay? God doesn't have a partisan affiliation. He doesn't have a nationality. And if someone is telling you otherwise, that is just not true. It is not true. And I would also call your attention to the very obvious prohibitions in the New Testament against killing the innocent.
This shit's getting really fucking boring. I'm sorry. I wanted to watch. I can't do any of the Tucker Carlson clips, man. They're so boring. Skip. We get the point. We get the point. We know what's happening to TPUSA. We understand the come town bit on Tucker Carlson. How did you both link that at the same time? I don't want to watch a 5-minute come town bit on stream.
Did you see that story about like Tucker Carlson's head writer was posting on a racist forum?
No.
First of all, not surprising, which
Of course.
it's like, I don't know why. I mean, and I'm not saying that like, of course, but it's like, well, yeah, probably. I mean,
It's race. They fucking.
it's not
put
that
racist
much
shit
different
all
than
the
what
time.
the show is.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't care. You know what I mean? It's like, well, I don't understand. Like, oh, well, he resigned. And it's like,
It's
just
not going to
ignore
not
it.
be racist.
Now
just
the show's
just
gonna be-
ignore it. But I mean, talk about a sweet job. Writing,
Getting to be the racist guy
being the
in
head
the room.
being the head writer. I mean, no, 'cause it's
Same.
really, that is a story of posting history. Is a guy that just posts on
Posting your way to the
chimpout.com, making his way all the way to being the head writer of Tucker Carlson show.
You're right. That is a racist rags to riches story.
I'm gonna tell you, because I could do that job easily.
Sure.
I'd work fucking 30 minutes a day. And it's like somebody's going to do it one way or the other, you know?
So you're asking for the job.
Yeah, I would.
You want to be head writer
Tucker,
on
if you're
Tucker.
listening,
Yeah.
I hear he.
Dude, I'm going to tell you, make me an
listens.
EP on that show. Give me fucking $12,000 a week. Absolutely, I do.
all right.
All right. Watch Come Town. Well, listen to Come Town, I suppose. Watch the Adam Friedland show. The writer on the left literally currently works for TPUSA Lamau. Oh, really? The guy who got fired from Tucker Carlson while Carlson was still on Fox? He actually works for TPUSA now? That's funny. He's also a Charlie Kirk podcast host. Oh my God. Failing upward. Jesus Christ.